Welcome once again to another edition of the You Should Get a License podcast. This is where you find education, information, inspiration for one of the most underrated career opportunities in the country today, and certainly one of the most gratifying as well, and that is a career in the insurance industry. Today, we are speaking with someone very, very special, very accomplished, excited to have her on. She is a native of Somerville, South Carolina, now residing in Georgia. She's actually been in the business for 23 years, a long time. And when you see her on the video, you're going to say, how is that even possible? Well, the reality is she started when she was about 10 years old, she'll get into when she started. But there is some legacy there, and it all comes down to exposure. So this is going to be very, very exciting and a great conversation today. She is also, in addition to running a full service insurance agency, the host of Simply Talk with Scherrie Blake, where she covers a variety of lifestyle topics on her podcast platform, from health, wellness, mental health, entrepreneurial success, and much, much more. She also helps other entrepreneurs get started in their business as well, which she will also speak to. She is the principal of the Scherrie Blake Agency, and I would like to welcome to the You Should Get a License podcast, Miss Scherrie Blake. Scherrie, how are you?
Hey, what's happening?
Hanging tough, counting down the days, until summer ends. I'm trying to hold on as long as I can.
Yeah, that heat now. Watch out for that heat.
Well, up here is probably not as much as we're getting some, but probably where you are is probably a little bit more heat and humidity.
We got mixture.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
But I'm used to it, so roll with it. I try to roll with it.
It's no thing for you. Look, once again, thank you for taking the time. I know you're busy. I know you have a lot on your plate. This, forum, this platform is really to, speak to individuals about, just thoughts, considerations, perceptions, perspectives, about, this industry. Many times it comes down to just exposure, just knowing that an opportunity exists. And if you know an opportunity exists, then you're positioned to take advantage of it. Right. I want to really start this conversation. We're going to go into your background in a moment, but I want to start the conversation really talking about, your area of specialty. You run a full service agency. You help people with a variety of different things. So can you speak to, what the Scherrie Blake Agency does, focuses on, and how you add value to your community and your segment of the business?
Okay, well, my agency is pretty much full service, but my focus now is small businesses. Okay. Because, COVID brought in a lot of people being creative and trying to find ways to, bring income. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people have been creating businesses. So I caught myself steering more toward that industry because, if you're new at business, you don't know how to insure what you have. And you don't know how to keep it insured and protected. Yes. So I like to educate, the new small business owners or the existing business owners to make sure they have the coverage that they need. So that's been my go-to. Also, I do life insurance. So to make sure people that are business owners, they're insured with their business, life insurance wise. We have the key man insurance, if you're partnered with another person with your business. So making sure if something happens to your partner, the business can continue. Yes. So that's a big thing as well. So that's my focus right now.
Yeah. Now she just gave some education for those who may not be familiar with those terms. So I want to go back through. She said she talked about the key man insurance, for business owners. Definitely, if there's a small business that's a partnership, that key man is going to protect, essentially the liability, for the other person. If something happens to that other person, you don't have to worry about picking up all of the weight of the business financially. You'll have something in place that can help, protect things and keep things moving forward till maybe another person gets in place. And by key, that's an important person. That's somebody who is detrimental to that business. Also,
Right.
when we say full service, now I introduced you as a full service agency owner. You are a full service agency owner. What does that mean for somebody who has no concept
Okay.
of what that actually entails? What are the things that,
Okay.
that you can help them with?
All right, so I do car insurance, I do home insurance, I do boats, I also do pets. So I do pretty much everything. I insure anything. So you call my office and need some insurance, I don't say no to anything. I'll find you a fit. So that's pretty much how I mean when I say full service.
Full service. So whatever you may need, if you're looking at an opportunity that says, hey, look, you're going to be a full service agency, you're doing the home, you're doing the auto, you're doing the pets, taking care of Rover.
People love their pets.
Oh, absolutely. Hey, look, it's important. You got
Yeah.
to have that pet insurance because veterinarians are expensive.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Know? So you got the pet insurance. If you're a business owner, that means things like liability insurance, your commercial liability. She mentioned the key man policies as well. And life insurance in that key man, very important component, not just for businesses. You offer that for individuals as well, correct?
Right.
Okay. Yeah. And with the small businesses, you also will help them with some of their benefits as well, right?
Correct. Yeah. And I'm glad I talked to you about that because you got me going on that. So we're going to talk later on off the record on that.
Oh yeah. I'm here to be a resource, So, you've been in the business a long time. I mean, practically your entire adult life.
Right.
Okay? Here's what I want to know. You could have done anything you wanted. Okay. Scherrie Blake, 9 years old. What'd you want to be when you grew up?
I think I wanted to just play sports because I was part of a sports family. So I figured, well, I guess I'm going to play sports too. So yeah, I was playing softball ever since I was like 6. So I thought softball was going to be what I was going to do professionally, but I only played up until I was 18. So then, but I started insurance since I was like, 9 or 10 years old, like you said, filing papers.
Right.
So at that point, I didn't really think about long-term. I just thought this was my job. I got to do it. And then by the time I turned 18, I was told this is what I have to do.
Wow. Yeah. So okay, you were going to be in sports. Who else in your family was playing sports? Everybody?
Yes, my dad. He was a big college athlete. He had football and track. So he was a record holder in track. Nice. And he got drafted to play professional, but he got injured. So that was his way, of steering his, going the other direction. Yes. And he said, well, if I would have went that direction, you wouldn't have been here. So I guess I'm glad he didn't go that direction. But I have uncles that played, I have 2 uncles that played professional. They played for a couple teams. So I didn't have a favorite, put it that way. So I grew up liking all the teams. And then I just had recreational, people playing recreational ball and wasn't able to go as far as college because, college is something that a lot of people don't go. And they're just athletes just in local and they don't go any further than that. But we have so much talent, I feel like they couldn't go any further because they didn't go to college, but they're still athletes, put it that way.
Yeah, I find that I have several friends, who are athletes and who played professionally, formally, right? Who went into this industry, and I find that this is a business that does attract people with those athletic backgrounds. Why do you think the insurance industry is so attractive to people that come up playing sports? I mean, even for yourself, playing softball, saying, look, this is what I'm going to do. Why do you think it's so attractive, coming from that kind of background?
I think because it's competitive. I think that's mostly why, because we don't want to lose. We don't want to lose a client.
Right.
We always want to beat the other company. So it's all competitive if you look at it.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's that fire, that competitive nature.
It's like a game to us. Yep.
Yeah.
Like I play a game with myself. If I can lower a rate for somebody, I make it a game pretty much. Like whoever company you're with, I'm sure I can beat it. And that's the way I do it.
There you go. Nice. Okay. So I know you bridged right into the insurance space. Let's talk about that, because you said, hey, you were told this is what you're gonna do, right? How'd you end up getting into the business? Take us through the journey.
Okay, so I worked for my dad.
Okay.
My dad, he had an Allstate agency, and he had it for, I think, 30 years is how long he's been in business, and he's retired now. But when I started with him, like I said, I was 10 years old filing papers, but I learned the business just listening, just shadowing him. So about the time I got old enough, I was it just fit. And I got pregnant at 17. Okay. So at that point, my dad was like, well, you got no choice. You need a job. Here you go. Here it is. So that's basically how I was told, this is what you're going to do. But I'm thankful, I'm not thankful I had a kid so early, but looking back at it now, I'm kind of glad I did.
Yeah. What was that like? What was that like, starting off being a young mother, going into this, just getting out of high school, being a young mother, getting into this new career path? What was that like?
It was a challenge, but I've learned so much. If you look at us now, it's almost like we look like brother and sister. It's just weird now, because he's 23 now. So if you see him and then you look at me, you're like, well, how can you have a 23-year-old? It doesn't add up. But trust me, I remember I had him.
Yeah, you're right. You were there.
I was there. But yeah, it was, I learned a lot. So we pretty much, we grew together, put it that way. We grew together. I was able to teach him a little bit about the business, but he didn't really want to go that route. He was more of the wants to do sports.
Yes.
So he grew up in it as well. He played football in high school, and he played a year in college. So I didn't want to force insurance on him like it was forced on me. I wanted him to have his decision to do what he wanted to do. So yeah, I'm glad I learned it early. Now I feel like I can actually teach it. And I think I'm steering more that direction when it comes to insurance now. Not so much of the selling, more of the training agents that, early start, so they can learn how to, grow and what not to do, what to do. Because I didn't learn the traditional way. I learned just looking at my dad.
Got you.
Because he was old school. He didn't really teach us how things are going now, technology wise. Once it got to the point where things were social media, and learning all this new stuff, he was like, I'm out. So, so I wasn't able to learn much from him on that aspect. But I learned, about customers, and I learned how to deal with people, which I'm glad, I learned that way. And I'm just a people's person, so it kind of fit. And I like protecting people.
Yes.
Even when it came to sports, I protected people. Like y'all say, protect the quarterback. I protected when I played softball, whatever. I protected our pitcher. So it all goes together, put it that way.
Yeah, all works in alignment.
Yeah.
And with your son, he didn't go into insurance, but then if he went the sports route, that still is in line with the family trajectory.
Right. But he had big shoes to fill. So they always compared him to his uncles and my dad and stuff. So he pretty much felt like, okay, I have to do sports. I have to show them that I could do as much as they do. Yeah. But he was a whole different league. My dad was a wide receiver, had uncles that played tight end and running back, but my son was an offensive lineman. So he had a whole different route.
Right. All he had to do is just knock people out.
There you go.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So that's how that went. But now he's a PlayStation. He plays PlayStation, I guess you could say, on a professional level. Wow. So because he didn't go that route of playing, further than college, he now does PlayStation and competes that way.
Wow. Hey, look, it's big money in gaming.
It is. Yep.
Yeah. It is serious. My 11-year-old was talking about a Fortnite tournament. He was like, yeah, I could get $500 on this tournament. I'm like,
Fortnite is the one. That's the one that makes the most. Yeah.
Yes, yes. So couple things, that I want to touch on, and I'd like you to speak to a little bit more. You know, one, I want to go back to, being a young mother, starting a business, starting your working career, because many times people will feel like, well, if I have a child early, or if I'm a single parent, I don't know if that was your situation. Did you a single parent, like,
Yep.
well, I don't know if I can really do this.
Mhm.
What was it that, well, I'll ask you what allowed you to continue to build on that, but also what kind of advice would you give to somebody else who is in that same situation, just wondering if they can go out and they can be entrepreneur, or they can get into the space?
Just find something that you feel like is your fit and just go with it. Um, Insurance is it's a lot with insurance. Insurance, you do pretty much everything. You're doing customer service, you're meeting people, you're networking, you just out in the field, and you have to meet people. So if you're a people's person, insurance is your thing regardless.
Yeah.
The systems you can always find out. You can learn everybody's system. It no matter what company you're with, they have their own program for you to learn by. But if you know how to deal with people, it's an easy fit. Put it that way.
Was it more?
So, mhm.
I'm sorry. Go. I'm sorry. I didn't want to cut your answer off. What were you saying?
Yeah. So for me, I feel like if you want to be an entrepreneur, it's just do a lot of research on what you like to do. Like if you want to build a house, do your research, learn it, and then find out sources on the way to build it. So I feel like if you want to do something, just do it and just get expert at it, learn it, and then open. That's pretty much how I did it.
Yeah. And doing, like I said, doing that with the young child, still building your career, I think that's something that really stands out, because people make all kinds of excuses.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
About
I couldn't have no excuse. My dad was in my ear the whole time.
Right.
Yeah. So I had a different route. You're going to do this. You're going to learn it, because you're not going to be no single parent not working and living off the government. And that's basically how it went. So that was my drive.
There you go. There you go. You talk about, your son, you say, hey, I'm gonna give you the choice that I didn't have. Do you feel like when you entered into the industry, because here's the thing, you don't find many people who are persons of color. Like, you don't find many Black people who come into this business in a legacy route. Like, hey, my parents owned an agency, and I got into the business as well. Do you feel like that helped accelerate your career? Or do you feel like how do you think that it affected you in your career path?
Well, for me, I still did it different, because I learned the business, and I'm from South Carolina. So I learned the business with him. And then I decided, you know what, I don't think insurance is going to be where I'm going to retire from. Let me try something else. So I started teaching high school for like 4 years.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. So I taught high school, and then I realized I like kids. So I felt like, I want to be around kids, but I didn't like the teaching part of it. Because, I taught technology. So kids felt like, okay, if I know how to work my cell phone, that's all the technology I need.
Right.
So it was kind of hard to teach that, but I still got attached to the kids. So even though that didn't work out, I decided, you know what, maybe I'm gonna just go back to insurance. Since that's what I know all these years, let me just do it. So I did it, but I moved to a different state just so I can prove to my dad, hey, I can do insurance, but I don't have to be under you. I'm gonna do it myself. I'm gonna show you I can do it without using your name, because he's well known in the area. And people think, oh, well, she's just doing that. She got things going because her dad did it, and things were handed to her. No, I didn't want to be people to think like that. I wanted people to see I can build it from scratch and do it myself.
Yes.
So I moved to Georgia, and then I started with Farmers Insurance.
Okay.
And I did Farmers for a year, and they're captives just like Allstate. And then I was like, wait a minute, this isn't working either, because I was, a lot of people I was sending back out of the door if the rates weren't good. So then I was like, you know what? I got to try something else. So I went the independent route. So I went independent, opened my own agency that way in a whole different state area. Nobody knew me. And then I was like, well, wait a minute. Where's the customers? Because when I was working for my dad, people were knocking on the doors,
Right.
the phones were ringing like crazy.
Yes.
So it was easy. I felt like that's how things was going to be. So when I opened my agency, I was like, well, where's the people? Why is nobody calling me? Why is nobody, knocking down my door? So I really had to push harder to show him, okay, I could do it myself.
Right.
So then COVID hit.
Okay. Yes.
So I opened my office in January, then COVID hit in March.
Right.
So then I really had to show him that I really wanted to do this. So I was in an office building, and at that time, the office building, the company, they didn't want a lot of people in the building at that time. Everybody was so scared of COVID. So they was like, we're shutting it down. So then I was like, oh gosh, how am I going to get customers to come see me if we are shutting down the office?
Yes.
So then I had to work from home. So I had to rethink my whole business plan and set it up to be home-based. And that's what I'm doing now. Okay. And I'm able to, I learned the business a different route, but I grew up, put it that way.
Yeah. Do you feel like with the change, since we're, in that road, with the changing times, the changing environments, how has that affected you as far as, building your business, your client interaction? How has COVID been? Has it been an asset for you, or has it been something that has been more of a challenge?
It's been, well, off and on, it's been challenges, mostly because I was still trying to learn being from captive to independent, which is two different ball games. So I was learning from Allstate was just one company, learning their systems and how their rules and regulations. And then I went to to independent. So I learned all companies, their rules, regulations, and all that. And then the systems. So that was my biggest challenge, but I'm glad I went through it because now I'm, able to get more clientele that way because I have more choices. But challenge wise, I used to, go to customers' houses, my older people, because a lot of them don't do technology and, go on computers and do quotes and stuff. So that has been a challenge since COVID, not being able to see people. Yeah. But it is still working out. People are now learning that they have to adjust to technology. And if they haven't learned before, they know now.
That's it. Hey, Zoom is blowing up.
Yes.
Zooms, Teams. Google
and I caught myself teaching them how to work Zoom. So I have my older people. They're like, I don't feel like this, and they'll have it on their phones, and they'll have their niece or their grands or whatever teaching them how to work the system. But then it's just fun. I just like interacting. Put it that way.
Yeah, and the experience with teaching, allows you to kind of help them throughout that process.
Yep. And it all comes together. Yep.
Patient. Patient with them. So you got all the factors. Speaking of teachers, see, many teachers, find their way into the insurance industry as well. Yep. How'd you find your way back to the business, after having that stint as an educator?
I think because, teachers have the summers, what you say summers off. Really, we don't have summers off because it's planning you got to do. But during my summers off, I would still, do insurance. Okay. So that was my way of, still staying in the insurance industry. And then once teaching, let me back up. Okay. I started teaching when my son was a student.
Okay.
Yes. So I was there to keep an eye on him. So everything, goes back to that. So I was able to keep an eye on him. And then once he graduated, he was like, Mom, I don't think you need to teach here anymore. You need to go too. So we graduated, and then I went back to insurance.
Okay. All right. So that was the catalyst. All right.
Yes, that was it. He did not want me to stay there when he was not there. So
nice. Mm-hmm. So you came back to the business, coming from now couple terms that you put out there, because there's a good portion of people that are going to hear this that are not in the business, right? So when they say captive, independent, when you say captive, what do you mean? When you say independent, what do you mean?
Okay, captive means you only represent one company. So, for example, Allstate, they do brokerage with some commercial, but when it comes down to it, Allstate is the only company that they represent, especially marketing wise.
Gotcha.
So that's all you can write. If you can't write Allstate, then you got to send them out the door. So independent, you have choices. Like right now, I have 40 companies being independent, so I can shop them through the 40 carriers.
Yes.
So if one don't work, I can go to somewhere else, and I don't have to send them out the door. So that's the best way, I think.
So you can find those workarounds.
There
So
we go.
there's debates, inside of the business. What's better? Is it better to be captive? Is it better to be independent? Based on your experience, where have you found your groove? Do you feel like where do you feel like it's better to be?
Actually, they both have good pros about it. Captive, you make more commission wise because it's all going from one company. So and you get more of support when it comes to being captive. Like Allstate, they're a big company, so therefore you get a lot of support, and it's a big name, so a lot of people know them.
Right.
Versus independent, we're picking up companies that a lot of people haven't heard of.
Got you.
But the rates are good, but they're, depending on the actual agent to make sure they're insured properly. And another thing, when it comes to independent, we can shop them at every renewal. Like for me, we have a 6 months policy, a car insurance policy.
Okay.
At the 5th month mark, I'll contact the customer and let them know, hey, your insurance is coming up for renewal. You might need to shop it around, but I can handle it for you. So if I find a rate with another company that's cheaper for them and with the same, coverages, then I'll let them know, hey, we got one for you. Let's renew with this company. And it's in-house. So it all works out.
And that's where the game piece comes in.
Yes, I love that part.
Okay. Nice. So having 40 companies, that's a lot of information,
yes.
For you to learn and develop, levels of expertise on, is that something that's difficult, or is that something that's doable just over time? Like what it was
over time, I'm still learning, put it that way. But over time, you'll learn, I know not to go through this specific company because they don't allow this type of vehicle. So at some point you'll know what kind of company to go through. Yeah. And that's for houses as well. Like for houses, if you're living on the coast, there's some companies that won't even write you. So not to go through them.
Got you. And how do you I want to say appointment, but I'll define that. How do you establish the relationship, with these companies? Like as an independent, what is your process to get these companies on board with your agency?
Well, starting off, it was rough because I didn't have proof that I was had insurance because I was captive with Farmers and that was just one carrier. So I couldn't bring that over and say, hey, I had production with Farmers, because that wasn't considered proof enough for them being independent. So what they, right now, they want you to have at least 25,000 proof of premium from other carriers, and then they'll appoint you based off of you actually writing with someone else. So
nice. Is that a do you feel like that's increases? I mean, that's pretty reasonable, 25,000 in premium, I would say.
Yeah.
Do you find some people find like that's a high barrier to entry that they can't overcome, or how doable is it to get that?
It's right now, well, in Georgia, it's easy because the car rates are so high. So it's like 5 cars and it's 25,000.
Gotcha.
So it's easy.
For the Georgia residents.
There you go. So it wasn't hard to get to that.
Okay. All right.
But they want more people on their team, so they're willing to work with you as well. And I'm licensed in different states, so that also plays a part. So if they see that you're writing a lot of business in one state and you want to pick up another state, they look at what you did in the other state and then they'll give you an appointment just without showing them proof of premium.
So not a difficult process as long as you show that you are actually working. Like as long as you show that, hey, I'm working in the business,
Yep.
You get some appointments.
Yeah.
Basically.
Mhm.
Okay,
Yep.
great. Okay,
Mhm.
awesome. So as you are continuing on, you're coming out of the 2020 um, time capsule. I don't even know. I mean, it's like 2020 happened, right? It's
Right.
like that was an actual year. It was.
Uh-huh.
But it's kind of a year that we kind of say 2019, all right, 2021. Here we are. How has the transition been, for you kind of getting back to whatever normalcy, is for now in your business?
Well, it taught me how to learn more about myself. 2020 has really shown a lot for me. It's actually helped me, to put it that way.
Yeah.
I don't think I would have learned about the different products and the business as much as I did if it wasn't COVID going on. Because I had time. I had time to learn things. You're at home, you can't go anywhere, so you just study. And that's really how I did 2020. A lot of studying. Mm-hmm.
No, 2020 was definitely a year. Look, if someone didn't take 2020 to get some new knowledge, some new certification, something, while they had that downtime, they basically wasted that entire time. I got my PNC license in 2020.
2020.
I don't do anything with PNC. But
you had time. You had time.
Might as well,
Because small business insurance, I really didn't mess with that. When I worked for my dad, that was what he did. That was his only specialty. So all I did was car insurance and home insurance. So once I got to this point, I had to learn it because I knew there was a lot of businesses coming up, and the premium, the premium is good. You make better money when the premium is good. So I felt I had to learn it. So I learned so much about, small businesses, the different types of small businesses and the coverages and stuff. So I'm glad I had that downtime to really learn the business.
Absolutely.
Instead of shadow work.
Right. No doubt. So now, as you continue to evolve, as an agency owner, but also as a well-rounded entrepreneur, you're hosting, your podcast, Simply Talk with Scherrie Blake. How'd that come about?
Well, Simply Talk, it started off, it was going to just be about businesses because I wanted to, give people some shine about their business so they can, brag on themselves a little bit. But then it turned into we just talked about everything. So right now we're on break. So I'm not really taping right now. I took a little break so we can try to, reformat everything and see what direction we really want to do so we can help people instead of just talking.
Right.
We want to do stuff that benefits people during these times, especially when it comes to learning what to do with your business.
Yes.
Learning what area you want to be in, building and, legacy building. So we have to learn about those type of things, especially right now, because, tomorrow's not promised, but if you got something in line and ready, why not learn about it now? So, yeah. So we're doing a lot of educating this time around on the podcast.
Education is important, and you're educating other entrepreneurs to get into the insurance industry as well.
Yes, that too. So they won't be scared to get licensed.
Yeah. So was it your passion for teaching that said, hey, look, I'm gonna, bring some others along and get us into this space? I mean, look, we've had conversations prior on the phone where we've talked about the disparity of, African Americans, just persons of color in this business. I mean, what was the motivating factor for you to say, hey, look, let's get these let's get young entrepreneurs into this space?
Just not by me not having the real traditional coaching and learning the business. I felt like that was my point. I needed to make sure people did get that. So I think that was my reasons of going that route of saying, hey, insurance is not what you think it is. People are scared to get insurance for some reason.
Yeah,
not only get it, but get licensed to sell it. And it's such a easy thing. I mean, you learn about people and you learn, and you're protecting people's assets. So that's even, you feel better about that. But I don't know, people are afraid. But I think I talked some people down.
Good. All
I
right.
think I talked a couple people down. I think they're willing to learn about the industry, and especially us.
Yeah.
And I, for some reason, they get mixed up with real estate. Have you ever heard of that? People saying, so how's the real estate business going? I'm like, no, I'm insurance, but they think insurance agent, real estate agent, and they get confused with that.
Agent, right.
I'm like, no.
Right.
But that made me think, should I go and get my real estate license? Are they trying to tell me that? But no, I think I need to just train agents. And that's where I'm at with it now. I want to train agents, have a recruiting agency, and just train agents on how to do step by step on how to have an agency and make sure it grows. Because I didn't get that.
Yeah, that's so important because, look, if someone is going to be a real estate agent, that's an incredible career path. It's a fantastic profession. But when you think about the statistics of people in this industry, in the insurance industry, whether it be, shoot, it doesn't even have to be person of color. It could even be millennials, the younger generation, people who are actually interested, because real estate, that's a big ticket right now. Every time you hear about the Business or Investor podcast, people talk about real estate investing. They're talking about forex or cryptocurrency. Those are the big things right now, hot topics. And you don't hear insurance brought up in those conversations.
So I'm like, how are you protecting your money?
Yo, look. You don't hear it brought up. You don't hear it brought up as a means of protection. You don't hear it brought up as a career path. I was reading an article recently where it talked about the fact that only 3% of insurance agency principals are African American.
Wow.
3% of agency managers African American.
I believe it.
I believe it. Folks are now retirement. So, and it's not exclusive. It's not exclusive to us. It's people across the board. But I think especially for our people, because we have all of these great forums where folks are talking about entrepreneurship, folks are talking about investing. You don't hear, you should go get your insurance license and get into that path. But what you do hear is the stories of the people that used to knock on the door, at grandma's house or aunt's house, collecting the premiums. You hear about, other companies, other agencies that have been around, successful people in the community that have been in the space. They don't typically look like us.
Right.
Why do you think, you said people are scared to get into insurance. Why do you think people are scared to get into insurance?
I don't know. Because they think they got a door knock.
Right.
I think that's what it is. A lot of people don't like to telemarket. And that's something I hated doing too. So if you was to get your own agency, hire somebody that does something that you don't like to do.
Yeah.
That was my key. I always hired a telemarketer because I hated doing that.
Yeah. Look, it's finding ways to be efficient, right?
Yeah.
And that's a part of running the business.
Right.
It's like, it's in that, Robert Kiyosaki has that cash flow quadrant, where he's talking about, the E, the S, the B, and the I. If you take yourself from that S to that B, when you can find people who can help you do those things that, maybe they're a weakness for you, maybe they're not a weakness, but maybe it's just an opportunity cost. Hey, I can focus my time and energy somewhere else, and I can have somebody doing these things. Right. So I think what you're doing from an education standpoint is very important, because it helps people to function as a business owner, and not just, not simply just as a self-employed person. Would you agree that there's
I agree
difference there, right?
Yep. And there's another thing about me being a business owner. I've always wanted to hire people on my team that you wouldn't even know isn't the boss. I wanted everybody to feel, equal.
Right.
So I'm not one of those micromanagers or I'm your boss, do it like I say. I'm not one of those. So I was always the type of boss that wanted people to feel comfortable and just run it like it's your own. I have no problem with that.
Right. So not only will you train and help this individual get started, but you'll also create you'll basically create a bridge for them to start their business inside of your organization as well.
Right. And I do it now. Like I'll get a text right now. How do you do this? And all day I'm working till 9 p.m. by the way. So I'm always helping. And that's why I feel like that's what I'm supposed to do. Because I didn't get that help. When I wanted help, somebody wanted to charge me $5,000 for help. But I'm like, if I'm a small business owner that I'm just starting,
right,
I don't have that type of money.
Right.
But people are in business and they're trying to make their money as well. But I felt like it was a disservice when you're first starting off, charging people just for a service that they need. I don't like that.
Right.
I don't like
it. It's like pulling yourself up by the bootstrap without a boot.
Right. Yeah.
Well,
I don't charge if you signed up under me, I don't charge you to get for helping. If you signed up, I mean, why would I charge you if we're all going to win together? I'm not going to charge you for that.
Absolutely. That's awesome. So now, at this point in your career, I mean, 2 decades is a long time, to be in this business. What's kept you in it? I know that you took a detour, but what has brought you back, to this business?
I think the renewals.
Look, talk about the renewals because that's something that people miss.
Yes, the renewals kept me going. If I didn't have renewals, I don't think I would still be doing the business. But I just love insurance, I think. Yeah, I love it. Because once I know I protected someone, or if they had a coverage and they didn't know, and then something happens, and then like, hey, I have a claim. Is this covered? And I'm like, yes, because I added this on and you didn't know it. Like, for example, we have a water damage coverage. A lot of people don't realize that that's an actual additional coverage that some agents won't add on. But if you have like a pipe leak or, your water bust and it flows in your house, if you don't have that coverage, you have to pay all that out of pocket. So I always add that special coverage to customers' policy because I've seen it happen so many times where people's houses, overflow with water because of the pipe bust. And they didn't have the coverage and they didn't realize, hey, was my cover? Do I have flood coverage? That's what they'll say.
Right.
And I'm like, that's a total different coverage. This is not from the water outside. This is in your house.
That's it.
Yeah. So
I think back to a long time ago. I used to work at Travelers. I was an inside property adjuster, and I remember I worked cat duty for Hurricane Katrina. And what was covered was the water that came from the roof, the water that came down. But if the water came up from the ground, nothing.
People don't know that. So of course, when I add that on, my price is not as much. I mean, my price is higher compared to what they've been paying before. But then you have to explain to them, hey, you need to make sure you compare apples and apples, not apples and oranges when you're shopping for rates. So I always make sure when I quote you based off the experience I went through when it comes to customers' claims. And I try to match it to what you need, and go from there. And I don't put it this way. I don't promote price. I promote the coverages. So if you say, I need to find something cheaper, that's not my problem. I'm not trying to find anything cheaper. I'm trying to make sure you're fully covered.
Make sure you're covered.
Yeah.
Because when it's time to file a claim.
Make
sure right. You are expected to get paid, correct?
All of it.
Absolutely. I want to go back to that renewal piece for a moment because here's what I find, and you tell me if you feel the same way, Scherrie. Insurance careers are almost like a secret. Like, okay, true, yes, we want to make sure people are protected. We're going to educate them about what's available. We're going to make sure their family is covered and taken care of in a time of need. But the business is so lucrative as well, and no one talks about this. I know when I was young, no one told me, what you could make in this industry as an agent or as even an executive or whatever the role may be. I mean, it's crazy. The renewals. So renewals. What are renewals?
Well, it depends on what type of policy it is. So for car insurance, is 6 months is most of the time.
And not the amounts. And I just want to define what the renewals are.
Okay, renewal is when you redo your policy for the 6 months mark. Car insurance, for example. So you do car insurance, the rate may go down and may go up, but very seldom it'll go down unless, one of your discounts or something are added on. But we get paid based off renewals, not as much as at the beginning, but you still get paid based off of a customer renews with you. And that's good retention. So you always want your retention to be high because that's your renewals coming in. So you make sure you babysit those customers for, 6 months or to a year to make sure they're happy so they can stick with you. And in the independent route, like I told you earlier, make sure you shop them. Because a lot of people, even though I don't I don't promote, I got cheaper rates. I don't promote that, but that's what people are really looking for, bottom line.
Right.
So you want to make sure you're at least telling them, hey, I'm giving you the best affordable rate that I have based off the coverage I feel you need for your auto or home.
That's right.
So once you do those services, they'll come back to you because they won't, it's hard to find a good agent, put it that way. Some agents, that's all they want to do is get your commission. And you need to find an agent that actually cares about your assets because it's your, your stuff. You want to make sure it's protected and make sure they're available if you need to file a claim.
Yeah.
So adding on to that, whatever company you end up with, make sure you research how they handle their claims. That's very important as well. So there's some companies that won't pay out a claim. I won't give any names, but there are some companies out there, but their rates are good.
Okay, you need to talk that offline so I can make sure,
Right. And that's another thing. A lot of people are doing their own insurance online. They'll go on insurance and do 1-800 good luck. That's what I call it.
Right.
They'll go in and they'll say, oh, I'm going to get me a rate and I'm going to do it myself. But they're adding on coverages that don't make sense.
Wait, yeah. You're gonna pay you pay way more. So look, the agent is necessary.
Yes, it's okay. We don't fight. We're trying to help. It's okay to talk to a person.
Yes.
But we can do it online for you if you don't want to talk to us, but just don't do it yourself. If you're not licensed, do not do it yourself. I promise you.
Sidebar. This is a sidebar because when you said that, that just struck a chord with me. My homeowner's insurance. All right, a friend of mine quoted me on my homeowner's insurance. But before he quoted me, I went online and I looked at a site with a little lizard, right? And I put my information in, and the quote was. Now here's the thing: the quote for the house was like $3,400 for the year. Okay. I talked to my boy. I said, look, tell me what you could do for me on this. It was $2,000 cheaper.
Yep.
I'm like, what? How's that even possible?
Yep. On the flip side, car insurance, people do it, but they won't tell us how many tickets or accidents you have when you do it yourself. So when you get to us and the rates are high, you're like, no, I want the rate that I got online. Well, of course, you didn't even tell the truth online. Of course you want that rate. So we hear all types of stuff when people do it themselves. Hey,
look, one, when buying insurance, talk to an agent. You know, if you're in South Carolina, Georgia area, you need to talk to Scherrie Blake. And if you're looking to become an agent, listen to what Scherrie is saying so that you can be the kind of agent that's really going to be able to add value because, you have to compete with, you have to be able to utilize the technology that's out there, but you also have to be able to compete with it as well, and be knowledgeable in order to do that.
Yep.
So at this stage of your career, 23 years, in the business, You've built an agency. You've achieved success. You've been successful in several areas of your life. And South Carolina director, Black Wall Street. Want to talk about that a little bit as well?
Yeah, that's my new role. We're still working on it, but those of you that don't know the history, it's started in Tulsa, Oklahoma, but there's so many other areas that has happened to that we didn't know about. We recently started learning about the Tulsa. So we're trying to now with Black Wall Street USA, we're trying to put it in each state and try to, form groups to create our own Black Wall Street. And it's not like we're just dealing with Black people. We're dealing with everybody, but just the name, we want to continue to, the legacy with the name. Right. So that's just it.
Right. Holding on to the traditions.
Yeah.
Of what happened. And, this is, this forum isn't, we don't do the entire history lesson of what Tulsa is, but, definitely it's worth, if you have not heard of, Tulsa, Oklahoma, which they were not the only one. They were not the only ones, it was these types of things happen throughout the country, but it's certainly things that you should know, and carrying on that tradition and really creating that network of businesses and other, entrepreneurs, throughout the country is an important endeavor as well. So with everything that you've done, thus far, how are you staying, like, how do you stay motivated? How do you continue to be motivated day to day? You say you work until 9:00 tonight. What keeps Scherrie Blake going?
Well, I'm only up till 9:00 working because I deal with a lot of dealerships. So the dealerships, their biggest issue was we don't have an agent that's open past 6:00.
There you are.
And when people get off from work, that's where they go. They go to the dealership from 6 to 8:00 at night. So that was my reason of, expanding, extending my hours to 9:00. But that's my motivation, to making sure I'm available for when you need it. And back to Wall Street, we decided that we're going to, help the businesses that are already intact, help them, give them consultations on their businesses. Because a lot of people don't know how to keep their businesses once they get it. So we, formed a group to try to grow the agencies, grow the different type of businesses, make sure they know the steps to keep their business, make sure they have their employees intact, make sure they got their certifications, and make sure they have their, the licenses, and also life insurance to make sure they keep, like the key man I was telling you about, make sure all that's intact. Because if you look back at what happened in Tulsa, I think they started off with the life insurance and they declined all their claims. So that's basically how that went. And that's why I got involved, because life insurance is one of the things I do. And I wanted to make sure everybody knew how life insurance worked. And it's something I always say, life insurance, you do not have to die to use it. You can use it while you're alive. So you can build on it. You can use it if you have any type of sickness, like high blood pressure. No, if you had heart attack or, those type of illnesses, you can use your life insurance to take care of those fees, hospital fees, while you're living. So a lot of people don't use life insurance to their advantage. They feel like, well, I'm not going to be here to use it. I'm not going to leave nobody rich. And I'm like, well, there's 25,000. First off, it's $25,000. You're not leaving nobody rich.
Yeah.
So, and then, the cost of burial is, growing.
Continuing to increase.
Yeah. So that money is going to be eaten anyway.
Yeah.
So, just make sure people are more educated in the life insurance department, especially when it comes to us.
Yeah.
Because we rather wear, if you know what I mean, we rather wear our money.
Yeah. Yo, man, friend of mine,
if you know what I mean.
One of my colleagues was just saying, he was like, yeah, man, a lot of times, folks rather wear Ferragamos than protect themselves,
Yes, because they want to, it's something they have to touch. If you can't touch it, they don't want to deal with it. And then life insurance is the first bill that they let lapse. if their money is issue, that's the first thing they let go. So we're trying to educate more of us about what to do with your life insurance, keep it going. And even when it comes to your kids, people are getting these stimulus checks and tax refunds and all this stuff.
Right.
Just buy a paid up policy for the year for your kid, and you don't have to worry about it for a year. That's what, $200.
There you go.
$200-300. But people they don't want to sit down and get educated on that. So I feel like I have to. That's what I'm doing.
For the newer people who are listening, people who are new to the business, new agents. I mean, Scherrie is giving you like marketing gems right now too. She said she stayed open late for the car. I'm gonna go back. She stayed open late for the car dealerships. People come after work. This is she's building clientele, utilizing the car dealerships in the after hours. So she's filling a void where no one else is filling it. She also said, look, people are getting these stimulus checks. We got the child tax credits that are coming out right now. You know, that's money coming in that you did not know you were getting, you know?
That's right.
So these are things that, you know, young people who are in the business, you can utilize these same tools, this information, this knowledge that she's given you, and you can use that to enhance, you know, your career as well. And if you're someone listening and you don't have these coverages in place, then, you know, maybe that's making you think a little bit differently about how you want to allocate some of your finances as well, because these things are important to have. I mean, so if you didn't have, if you didn't have an insurance license, I think, and maybe I know the answer to this, maybe I don't. If you didn't have an insurance license, you weren't in this business, what would you be doing?
Well, I was told I'm supposed to be a model, so I don't know if that would have been it. But then again, I got a little bit of tomboy in me, so I don't know. I don't really know what it would have been at this point. But I know business was going to be it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love helping people, protecting people. I don't see me being in the medical field or a cop or a fire person. So I really don't know. Insurance was probably the only fit.
Yeah. I thought once you get into this business, like you in it.
And there's so many products in insurance, like for you do, you know, employee benefits. So therefore there's so much to do.
Yes. I look, and like you know, so many carriers that are out here. It's like you trying to figure all of that out, and different regulations and laws keep changing. So there's always, you know, something new to learn, and you know, a new way to grow and help people, and you know, continue to build on your career. So what's the goal? What's the end goal for you, Scherrie?
Just educating everybody I talk to.
Educating everybody.
Everybody.
Yes. If you come within 6 feet of Scherrie Blake,
you're gonna learn something about insurance.
You're gonna learn something about
Yep.
Yeah.
Education. Just stay educated.
I love it. And you gave some tips earlier about, you know, going into the business, just some of the tools. But you know, someone who's listening to this, they've listened to your interview, listened to your story, they're on a fence, they're thinking maybe this is something that I might want to do or get into. What words do you have for them?
You can always do insurance part-time until you really figure it out. Yeah. So because that's what I did when I was teaching. I was doing insurance part-time. So you can work your own hours, especially if you're working for yourself. You can work your own hours and hire a virtual assistant.
Love it. See how she's just giving you tools right here. That's why you need to get with her so she can train you. Train you up. Right? I love it. Hey, look, thank you, Scherrie, for joining us. Please share what your contact information. How do people get in contact with you, find out more about your business, and even, you know, potentially, you know, find out how they can get some training from you as well.
All right. All my information is on my website. So you can go to Scherrie B Agency. So it's SCHERRIE B agency.com. And I talk about all the products I carry and also the opportunities to open your own agency.
All right. And you'll see that on the bottom of the screen as well. So you can visit the site, find out more. Scherrie, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
For being a guest. I've enjoyed it. I think you've dropped several nuggets, you know, that others can take into their business. And for anyone listening, you know, I hope they, you know, find that it was, you know, valuable. And if they're in that area, hopefully they'll, you know, reach out to you so they can, get on board, because it sounds like you got some great training, and will be a great teacher and coach for them.
Yeah, and I cover anybody in any state. So wherever you're at.
So wherever you are, if you are in the US, international, because we have some international people too. Do you do
no. US.
Okay, all right. If you're in the US,
let me make sure. US.
Right. If you're in the US, you can talk to Scherrie. If you're outside the US, you can visit her website though. You can listen to her podcast and her information and the videos and things that she has out there. Thank you once again. Hey, look, for those who are listening, or if you're watching the video version of this, maybe you heard something that will make you think to yourself, maybe I should get a license as well. Until the next time, talk soon. Thank you.
All right.